Hey there, everybody. Diana Alt here, your No BS career growth strategist, helping you find career growth that meets your real life. I'm here with Kelli Hrivnak, who is one of my favorite technical and marketing recruiters. She's the owner of Knak Digital, and we recorded a podcast. It's going to be episode 39 on Work Should Feel Good playlist. But I made her promise to do a separate video because I like the podcast to be where it works to listen, just do listen only mode. But she wanted to show us how she searches for people using LinkedIn. So hopefully y'all can see this really well. Sometimes screens get really tiny, but we're going to do our best here. And she's going to show us how she searches for 2 roles, because there's so many things that this feels like behind the curtain to job seekers, and we're going to demystify it. Kelli, is there anything else you want to say about your business before we jump into the first role you're going to search for?
Yeah, so background to just give everybody context about maybe how I go about the way I do things is primarily the type of roles that I fill are within the tech arena and a little bit in GTM and marketing as well. I'm supporting more small business. So that can be startup, just small, mid-market, not typically enterprise.
Can you define small business? Because like people that have worked at a giant company think like 100,000 employees is small because they work somewhere with 200,000 employees.
I mean,
so like what's the range?
I mean, my sweet spot is like 50 to 200 people, up to 500,
Got it.
up to 1,000.
Okay. That's a fun size org to work with. And it's a little different thing and little different problems than the average employer. So we talked about trying to do like a pretty technical role. Some people are so concerned when they're creating their resumes and their LinkedIn and doing all the things that they have all the right skills because of keywords and all of that stuff. So what role are we going to go for? And can you talk to people about, you're using Sales Navigator, not LinkedIn Recruiter. So you're using a paid tool, but not the fanciest paid tool, right?
I know. I am not using LinkedIn Recruiter. From my understanding, the biggest difference that I do not have, the filter I do not have is the open to work, as well as people who have expressed interest in my company. So for internal recruiters, that is a way that they would be filtering for people who had toggled. And I think you can do like top 5. And then there's another, I think, that are top 50. So those might be different filters. So I do not have that. And again, I don't have the open to work, but I will tell you, I contact anybody, whether they have an open to work banner or not. It is helpful speed wise because you're open to work. That signals to me you're motivated and active. But again, I kind of operate on the idea that I will just reach out to anybody and take a chance.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. So when you're doing this, I would appreciate, because this is kind of small and some people might do this on their phones. If you can kind of talk about the filters you're doing while we're doing it would be great.
Okay.
But you said, we talked before I hit record, let's do machine learning engineer.
Okay.
Let's do that. So how are you going to get started with that?
Well, right. So in theory, and thinking about machine learning engineer probably would need some context, but let me show you.
I will pretend that I am competent to give you context. So what are some of the things you would look for? I'll just give you answers.
Okay. I was going to say, like, what flavor of machine learning engineer? And I could probably almost give an example of, let's get crazy, right? So looking at the filters over here, one that I like to start with is job title, right? So we're going off assumptions, but if I'm looking for a machine learning engineer, maybe they're actually in that title right now. What I would do is I could put machine learning engineer into current job title.
Okay.
So that's the current field. Now, maybe there's different ways to say machine learning engineer. So sometimes I'll even use AI and ask, what are different versions of machine learning engineer that could be different nuances or ways that companies titles that. But I'm going to go with ML engineer. I'm going to go.
Here's an important thing about what Kelli just said. There's a lot of people that have this idea that the that the recruiter is typing in one term, machine learning engineer. And if that doesn't appear on your LinkedIn and your resume, you're fucked. That is not true, because they're going to try multiple different vectors. Okay, keep going.
We'll go, hey, you know what? Let's try AI engineer. Let's try, there's a couple different ways to do this, but look at this. So I've got 190,000 results just from current job title of people who hold this current title right now. Now, let's say we're looking in the Bay Area. Do we want to narrow it down that it's on site? Do we want to do remote? Is it just
Let's
United
pretend
States?
that it's let us do US and remote.
Okay, so we're going to go down to geography and we're going to hit United States. Now, that dwindles down to only 58,000, which is
there we go.
Actually kind of insane when
Right?
you think about it. But I have 58,000 search results for machine learning engineer, ML engineer, and just AI engineer in itself. Let's cut AI engineer and see what that takes me to. 34,000. So, and again, this is just current job title. Now, there very well could be, maybe they were maybe it's not machine learning, maybe they're calling themselves something else. But I'm going to probably start here because there's 34,000, and sourcing is all about testing. Okay, so we're going to start with maybe what we think is going to yield the highest result and match. And I'm just going off a title, right? So yeah, that's just one place to start. So I will, now let's say that, is there any particular type of technology or skill sets? Is it like computer vision? Are we looking at autonomous vehicles or?
So what we're doing, we are going to be doing something related to talent acquisition. So let's pretend we're working on AI and ML in the space that you work. It's going to be website or app, software focused, not device focused.
Okay. Well, that's tricky. So
I'm making stuff up. So, but that's kind of your life.
I was going to say, like, I in theory might even do like HRIS for like an HR system.
Like, ooh, did we work with Workday? So
right.
HRIS,
do like specific software systems?
You're saying HRIS because then that is a person that has domain expertise in the data that we are MLing about, right? That's what you were trying to do.
Correct.
What does that take you to?
Yes. So that took me to 19 results, which, let's see, like how relevant. And I would also like to note that when I'm doing something usually generic for even hard skills, I put it up in the keyword at the top here because that will scan the entire profile. So that'll look under about section, that will look in the experience, that will look in your skills section. That is typically where I'm always looking for any kind of skills as I'm putting it in that keyword bar, as opposed to some of these skills on the side here.
So I want to hit something that I recommend to people and compare it to what you just told us. So when I advise people on creating their LinkedIn headline, the way I typically suggest they do that is a market-facing job title. And I say that because sometimes companies have like weird shit that they give you as a title. Use the title that people are going to recognize. So if they called you the purple squirrel of AI and ML at your company, don't write that, write ML engineer or machine learning engineer for this example. Then I tell people to pick a few of their primo skills that they would want to grab a recruiter or hiring manager's eyes. So HRIS background, especially if they were targeting that, could be one. Python could be one. That kind of thing. The reason for that is less about SEO and more about how the recruiter reacts when they see it. Because Kelly's eye might go faster to a headline that says ML, HRIS, Python, whatever, than one that does not include HRIS, even if it came back in in the results. That's just what our eyes do, especially when there's 100, not 19. Yeah. So keep going.
Exactly. And kind of take, let's get rid of the job title, right? To your point.
Okay.
And again, kind of using this as a Boolean search back up to the keyword. And I'm going to, let's leave HRIS there and we'll do, oh, lovely. I'm going to just write machine learning engineer. Sometimes it doesn't do very well with Boolean. We'll give it a shot. Sometimes I think there's limitations to the Boolean string. I was going to do ML engineer. Let me just see the difference, because in theory, it should probably bring up, oof. Yeah, see, I wish I had the rules. Where's my boy, Brian Fink? He would know. Let me get rid of the or, because they had a crazy amount of results come up. So
now we're
HRIS, machine learning engineer, there's more here as opposed to 19. Yeah.
Right.
So
because it's anywhere,
thinking about where they, and
anywhere in the
why don't always
say that again.
Yes. So, current job title, that's great. I was going to say, when you use just current job title, that's obviously going to yield just people with that title. This is better. And I would like to find an example of maybe where else. And you might obviously find some people that aren't going to be a match specifically. And again, who knows if all of these people are going to be a match for what we're looking for, but we think creatively as far as where else can we play around with the different search strings.
And you keep iterating based on what you're seeing show up. Because if you see, like, one of the things was generative AI engineer that we saw in these search results. And if you realized, oh my gosh, generative AI is what we're supporting, that could be added to some of the skills that you're keywording about. Very cool. What else do you look at? So when you get to the point, when you think about you're doing this querying and stuff, that's great. Eventually you click on someone and you make a decision about whether you're going to call them. So why don't you grab one of these and tell us a little bit about what you look at to make that kind of decision?
Right. So let's look like AI ML engineer at Lowe's. That looks promising, right? I mean, at least so we're going to pull this up. It shows the profile on the side. And so I scroll down here, sometimes the about section, like, okay, I might actually, to be honest, I go up to that. I want to come look at the experience section first, because that's going to give me the biggest clues about work history, what you've done, if you've elaborated, which this person has not included really much about what type of work that they've done. So I'm looking, they worked at Lowe's, they worked at the Mayo Clinic. Sometimes if I'm looking for specific industry experience, project experience, details will be here. Even if I'm working for a healthcare company that wants to see healthcare experience, and maybe their current company, they're at Lowe's now, that's not healthcare, but maybe they worked at healthcare prior. Oh, Mayo Clinic. Well, guess what? That will still be a value add to my client. So
got it. And so I would advise that person, and I definitely will do this harder now, because you are not the first nor the last recruiter to say that you skim down to experience first. But a lot of hiring managers go top to bottom.
Yeah.
When they're looking at profiles.
So
just pick the best bullet points from your resume and smack them here. Just do it. If you're not in the market, I can understand. Like if Raj Praneeth here, who seems like he's got some cool stuff on his background, is not actively in the market, I can see why it's not there. But if you are, then pull over your bullet points, and you don't have to make it fancier. Like resume writers in LinkedIn love to talk about optimizing, and engineers in particular think that means to try to get to the Six Sigma version of their freaking profile. What we need first is not blank. So don't be blank. Okay, keep going. What else are we looking at?
So we're looking like, I don't know. It's hard to see if they had actually worked HRS. So I look under featured skills. If there's a particular, tech stack that I'm looking for, and here they did not fill in when they use a particular technology, but maybe, oh, look, they have deep learning here. Well, I wonder where they use deep learning. If that's important to me, listen, I always err on the side of I'm going to reach out and figure out if and when, depth, scope of that particular skill set. So, and again, he actually did fill out a lot of information in his about section. So I'm going back up here and I'm reading TensorFlow. So he has a lot of the technology that he's worked at here. He elaborated a little bit more as far as what he did at Lowe's, passionate, blah, blah, blah. And then again, some skills here. So the about section, and to be honest, sometimes maybe I might read that first and then proceed on to the experience section. But really, at the core, this is where I'm looking, is about an experience, because I'm looking for context about what they've done in the past. So
if we're advising someone, like, here's advice that I'm hearing I should give. I'm hearing I should tell him, great about section, glad you wrote it. We need to get that stuff under work experience too, to grab the eye. And please, please, please tie your skills to your jobs.
Yes, I will. I mean, it's
tie your skills to your jobs. You don't have to tie every single one, but the main themes and the hottest technologies tie to the job where you use them.
Yes, exactly.
Because seeing deep learning at 3 jobs is different than seeing it at 1 6-month contract.
Yes.
Cool. All right. I think that's good for that one.
Okay.
Let's talk. So another thing we talked about offline was there's a lot of roles where the hard skills aren't as concrete and articulated in the same way as it might be for an ML engineer. So we talked about product management leadership. So, and that's an area I'm very, very comfortable with. So let's see if we can do an example of a product management leadership type role. What is a common role that you recruit for, Kelly?
From a product standpoint?
Yeah.
Well, mine are typically a little bit more on the technical side, and especially in like startups. So we might be looking at a little bit different where, they're looking for.
That was my background. I was like a platform and data and analytics product manager. So I can hang.
All right. Well, I was going to say, you tell me, but sometimes it's,
why don't we kind of think about in the same realm, HRIS, let's pretend we're hiring a product leader for the same, loosely defined type of org that we did for that AI ML.
Okay.
I want to get, for the size of head of product, I'm a Series A. Let's call it Series A. I'm head of product. I have a product with product market fit. We're still building it out. Like it's in market, but we got a long way to go. We're Series A.
Right.
I want someone that has domain expertise. I only have 2 people on my product team. One that's already there that's more junior, and I'm hiring a head of that I anticipate in the next 3 years is going to build out a product team of like 6.
Okay.
That's kind of where I'm at as a starting point.
All right. So what I would do, again, we'll start with current job title. I'm just going to put product in here.
Let's do it.
This is one that I use because I'm working with startups, and because startups always want to hire people who've worked in startups before. So I'm going to go up to company, and this is going to filter people who are working in certain company sizes. So Series A could be, it's probably here, but you know what? I'm going to be loosey-goosey with it, and we're going to start with companies with a head count of 51 to 500. Now, again, I could potentially go back and maybe just run a search of 1 to 10, because maybe they're working with, seed stage, or maybe it's a little bit mature at this stage and they've been with the company for a while when it was Series A.
I need someone that already did this.
Already did this.
Yeah, I need someone that like already did it, either at this job or another job. So they need to have built an org.
Well, I'm going to leave it at that. Let's see what the difference is. So I still have HRI. Well, do we want to do HRIS? We're going to leave it like that.
Let's see if we can do that. But I'll tell you what, when we're going through it, the fact of being able to build a product org ultimately is going to be less important than the HRIS because of where we're at. Our founders, let's say our founders have HRIS background. So, but yeah, a unicorn would be someone who worked in another HR related startup and helped start their product org. That'd be a unicorn.
All right. Well, we're going to run with these filters. And again, a lot of sourcing is, to your point, testing, iterating.
Yep.
What kind of results did we get? Not what we're looking for. We'll remember what filters we ran, remove those, and do basically the adverse of what we ran. Mm-hmm. So again, we're keeping United States. Current job title is just product. So that leaves, director, head, chief, whatever it could be, right? Like, forget about it. We're going to leave that.
I will say that I like when product people have competency in product marketing, but someone that only has done product marketing is not a fit.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree. It's different.
Well, I just saw a product marketing guy, so I'm like, this would be an interesting way for you to actually work with clients.
So here's a fun one. To your point. Oops. So current job title, I could even exclude. Will it let me just exclude marketing? Come on. Well, that's a bummer. Usually it lets me exclude. Well, I could do product maybe.
I don't need to exclude that entirely. When you click on the thing, I don't want someone that never has been a product manager. If they've only done product marketing, that's not a fit.
Okay. Which I feel like it increased the results, by the way, which is bizarre, but we'll keep on keeping on here. So very strange. So that gives us 566 results nationwide. Okay. And that's a very generic search for what we did. So chief product officer, that might be like I can click on whoever and we can kind of check it out. There's obviously a couple different ways to do this too, which I have not done, but I could also go down. I find I'm looking at industry. So personal industry. Hold on a second. Sorry, I was looking to see if there was an actual filter for the industry and maybe it's the same thing. I'm thinking out loud here to think personal industry. I can't remember if that ties to an industry that they chose or if that ties to the company that they're working with.
I'll tell you what, just pick something.
Okay.
Go for it. Let's see what happens. Test it. Show how that testing process works.
So is human resources even an industry? See, I don't love that, but we're going to do it. Chiropractors. That accidentally got thrown.
Chiropractors. That's funny.
Well, look, no results.
No results.
So sometimes industry, I test that. I find it's not the greatest. And again, I could have sworn that they used to include company here. So that's bizarre. I'm going to have to test that later. Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
I think one of the most difficult things. Yeah, I think one of the most difficult things is the fact that SaaS companies often get tied to IT or the industry tie is missing. And so somebody that's done work like this doesn't come up in that kind of thing. Why don't we just hit somebody? So I'm super interested in this guy that's a CPO at AccuSource HR. Let's talk about him.
Let's do it. Chief Product Officer. So we're going to take a look and okay. So I think he did a great job with his headliner.
Cool.
So we're going to scan down. So again, the about section, which, and I can compare it too, but it looks like very similar to a resume, has career highlights, which is great information to see as far as built product portfolios, 20 years of experience in SaaS platforms. I mean, SaaS is always a great keyword to put in. I test it out here and there. Not everybody includes it, but if I have a search for SaaS, I will include that. I do love that. Again,
might have been another HR.
That would have been
another, because like HRIS is a little more old school of a word these days. I think everything that used to be something IS is now something tech. So, and that's part of testing, right? You go, God, I'm not finding any HRIS. I have seen this HR tech term come up, and then you change your work, right? Very cool.
Exactly. That's even with like e-commerce. Like sometimes I have to put that in with the dash and without the dash, right? So
you
have to test things out.
Well, what else? What else has Gaurav got for us? So he's got a lot of career highlights, personal insight on why he's into this, which I always like because I'm a nerd like that.
Deeply blah blah blah. Recognize that. I mean, some ethical AI. I mean, AI, it's probably smart to include that if you have any exposure to it now, especially if you're in a startup and working for an AI, be sure to include that. Now, I guess we're running against the same situation here where there's not a lot of information as far as like the work that they did when they were there. So, and again, very similar, which I'm wondering if like search prioritizes now that they're heavy in about, but not so much in experience. But, and it's great that they have the history here as far as where they worked, shows all positions, education. Sometimes that's important depending upon the companies I'm working with. If a bachelor's is required, of course, I'll go look there. Featured skills. So again, a little bit more technical. But it's hard to, again, determine. So HR tech, that's interesting, right? So key expertise in HR, that signals to me, but I don't have any idea of, if he has led a team or has helped grow a department.
The way that he did it, it's not super obvious, but what's very interesting, he's got, I think, Paylocity as a payroll company. So he's got two things on here that appear to be adjacent to people operations. A CPO and two heads of product. That's great. Senior product at a big company. Like clearly he's got a pedigree, but at the same time, there's more information that would have made him more compelling. So these two people are probably going to be aggravated that they're on YouTube, but
I know. I'm sorry. And I was going to say, like, in theory,
I think it's really good though, because this is the reality of what we see. These are two really good, clearly, even though it's not super skimmable, they did some things right to pop up in a search that then seems aligned to what they do. So if you're watching this and you're trying to figure out what the hell is the point of what Kelli and Diana just did for 28 minutes, it's number one to show you that this is not happening just as Boolean searches of one term. If you don't have head of product, then we're not going to talk to you. No, we're going to go a little broader than that. It can matter what industry it is. It can matter what the past role is. We are going to open up the profile, a lot of these profiles, and look at them. If I was really the client, I might say, love Gaurav, go find 3 more like that. Like, I really love this couple of heads of. That's really great. And then you're going to adapt your searching accordingly. And then if you're a candidate looking at this and thinking, wow, I want to put the best impression to Kelli and her ilk, then fill out the work experience and tag the skills. That's the top 2 things that both of these gentlemen should do. So awesome. Thank you so much for doing that. Are there any other like parting 1 or 2 things you would like people to know besides what we already covered?
No, I mean, I think a lot. And again, we're going off assumptions and trying to assume, if I'm unsure too, and I think like, for instance, in this case, when we were talking about, well, somebody who led a company, looking at Wayfair and Paylocity, those are big enterprise companies. So I might have some hesitation about, well, has he worked for these type of organizations? I will say it's helpful with LinkedIn because I can even, click on the little logo here. will give me
And
some
that's like, and
information.
that one's in the right realm. And here's another thing that I would say to a Gaurav. Can you like go away from the AccuSource? Like
Mhm.
we need that little window to go down. Okay, so one of the things he's got is strategy advisor. I would not be surprised if that strategy advisor work the last 10 years also worked with companies of this size, seed companies, A companies. That's where he figured out he wanted to make this pivot. So if you have something like strategy advisor self-employed, put context under that too. A lot of people think, should I have it there? Is it detracting from my brand? I mean, to me, if I was a hiring manager, this doesn't do anything positive or negative for his brand the way it is right now.
Mhm.
But if he said, this is Kana Strategic Advisors, and I did product and innovation consulting for companies ranging from seed stage to Series B, and I did blah, 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 and I consulted to help people figure out how to stand up their group, then all of a sudden he becomes a unicorn.
That's
Right.
great advice. Yes.
Cool. Well, I'm going to have to make a note of these profiles so that when I put this video up, then I can let these gentlemen know that we talked about them. And yeah, well, thank you so much for letting us go under the covers with you on how you do some of these searches on LinkedIn. That was just wonderful stuff.
Well, it was very surface level. I could go for, well, then I try this and then I do this. But this was kind of how I start. But there's so many different iterations of, when you can't find people and different ways to go about it. So thanks for letting me share.